Some people disappear without a trace. Some are never found. But the ones who do resurface, their stories can be even more terrifying. For nearly 3 decades, Rachel McCarthy was nothing more than a ghost in the town of Emerson, Montana. She vanished on a quiet September night in 1994, leaving behind only whispers, theories, and fear. Then one day she was found. But what investigators uncovered was not just her body. It was something far, far worse. Emerson, Montana population, just under 5,000. The kind of place where nothing really happens, until something did. Rachel McCarthy was more than just a face on a missing poster. She was a daughter, a friend, a dreamer. A journalism student at Emerson Community College, she had an insatiable curiosity about the world. She wanted to uncover truths, but the truth she found may have cost her everything. September 18, 1994. Rachel had just finished her shift at Tate's Diner. Her co-workers remember her smiling, saying she was exhausted but excited about something. Something she had uncovered. She left at 11:05 p.m. She got into her car and drove away. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning, at exactly 6:47 a.m., a truck driver named Hank Porter called the police. He had spotted an abandoned vehicle on Highway 6, about 5 miles from town. The door was wide open. The engine was still running. Rachel's purse was on the passenger seat. But Rachel? She was nowhere to be found. Authorities launched an immediate search. They scoured the dense Montana woods, questioning anyone who had seen Rachel that night. But there were no footprints leading away from the car. No blood. No signs of a struggle. It was as if she had been taken. Weeks passed. Then months. Then years. Rachel's name faded from headlines. People whispered, but life went on. Until summer 2022. A construction crew was renovating an old farmhouse just outside of town, preparing it for demolition. But when they removed the floorboards in the living room, they found something the town had long forgotten: skeletal remains. And when the forensic team examined them, they confirmed the impossible. It was Rachel McCarthy. After 28 years, Rachel had been beneath their feet all along. But the real horror was who the house had once belonged to. Owen Calloway, a former police officer. A man with a dark past and an even darker secret. Owen was arrested, but when detectives asked him what had happened to Rachel, he simply smiled and said, she wasn't alone. For 28 years, Rachel McCarthy's disappearance was a cold case. But when her body was found buried beneath an old farmhouse, the truth was supposed to bring closure. Instead, it unraveled something much, much darker. In Owen Calloway's interview room, his wrists are shackled to the table. A detective's voice is heard. What did you do to her? Owen leans forward, smirking. I didn't do it alone. Rachel wasn't alone the night she died. But the question is, who else was? Detective Sarah Donovan had been working homicide for over 15 years. But something about Owen Calloway's words haunted her. She wasn't alone. It felt like a taunt, a puzzle she wasn't meant to solve. Sarah pulls out a folder titled Missing Persons, Emerson County. Black and white photos of women, all young, all vanished between 1988 and 1996. Rachel McCarthy wasn't the only girl to disappear in Emerson during that time. There were others. 5 others. Women who, just like Rachel, vanished without a trace. One case stood out. Lena Morrison, 19 years old, missing since 1991. And here's where things got strange. Lena had last been seen talking to Owen Calloway. But back then he was still a cop, a decorated officer. And no one thought to question him. Had Owen been hiding in plain sight? And if so, how many more were there? Scene fades to the old Calloway farmhouse. The house is now a crime scene. Investigators in hazmat suits comb through the wreckage. Authorities had torn the farmhouse apart, searching for more evidence. They thought they had seen everything. But then they found something else. Behind the walls was a hidden room. And inside was something straight out of a nightmare. The room was soundproof. There were restraints, a single chair, and worst of all, dozens of Polaroid photographs. Rachel had been here. She had been alive in this room, long after she was reported missing. And she wasn't alone. Another photograph, Lena Morrison. Same chair. Same fear in her eyes. Detective Donovan, you took them here. All of them. Owen smirks but says nothing. But Owen wouldn't talk. Not yet. Not about what really happened in that room. But then they found something that changed everything. The Calloway farmhouse had once belonged to someone else. Owen's older brother, Matthew Calloway. Matthew Calloway had vanished in 1997, declared dead. But what if he wasn't? Owen chuckles softly, finally speaking. Owen Calloway, you're looking in the wrong place. It wasn't Owen they should be afraid of. It was Matthew. And if Matthew was still alive, where was he now? The deeper they dug, the more disturbing it got. In 1994, just a few weeks after Rachel went missing, there had been an anonymous report. A woman's screams coming from the Calloway farmhouse. Officers were sent to investigate, but the report vanished from official records. Detective Taylor. It was covered up. Someone had erased the report. Someone had protected the Calloways. And that meant Rachel could have been saved. The town of Emerson had secrets, and someone had been helping Owen and Matthew hide them. A single name stands out. Sheriff Henry Collins, Case Handling Officer, 1994. A decades-old secret. A missing report. A man who was declared dead, but might still be alive. Detective Sarah Donovan was closer than ever to the truth. But in the town of Emerson, some things were never meant to be uncovered. Detective Donovan sits at her desk, flipping through the old missing persons files. A cold breeze sneaks through the cracked window, making the pages flutter. The sheriff's name kept appearing, Henry Collins. He had handled multiple missing persons cases that had all gone cold. But what if it wasn't incompetence? What if it was intentional? There was a knock on the door. Donovan looks up to see an older man, Sheriff Collins, standing in her doorway. Sheriff Collins said to her, "You're in dangerous territory, Detective." Donovan stares at him unshaken. Detective Donovan said to him, "And you've been covering for them, haven't you?" After a long silence, Collins exhales, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Collins didn't deny it, but what he said next changed everything. Sheriff Collins, whispering, "You don't understand. I wasn't covering for Owen. I was covering for Matthew. And if he knows you're digging, you won't make it out of Emerson alive." Donovan's blood runs cold. Matthew Calloway had always been the more dangerous brother. The mastermind, the one who got pleasure from watching others suffer. When he disappeared in 1997, people assumed he was dead. But they were wrong. There was a mysterious fire that destroyed Calloway Barn, but no bodies was found. The fire wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up. And Matthew never really left. Donovan grips her pen tightly in fear while staring at Collins. Detective Donovan asked, "Where is he?" Collins hesitates, then mutters, "He never left Emerson." Donovan and her partner, Detective Taylor, drive through the backroads of Emerson. A storm rumbles in the distance, lightning flashing. Sheriff Collins' confession led them here, deep into the woods, where an old hunting cabin had been abandoned for years. Or so they thought. The car stops. The cabin looms ahead, barely visible in the darkness. Detective Taylor whispered, "What if he's in there?" Donovan chambers a bullet into her gun. "Then we finish this." The two detectives move toward the cabin, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Inside the cabin, dust coats every surface. The air is thick with decay. Then a creaking sound from the back room. The moment they stepped inside, they felt it that they weren't alone. Donovan pushes the door open. A small room, filled with old newspaper clippings. A single chair sits in the center, restraints attached. And then movement. A figure steps out of the shadows. Matthew Calloway said slowly, "You shouldn't have come here." The light finally reveals him. Matthew Calloway is alive. His face is gaunt, his eyes sunken, but the twisted smirk is unmistakable. Matthew lunges. A struggle erupts. The room shakes as gunshots ring out. Donovan barely had time to react. A knife glinted in Matthew's hand, aimed straight for her throat. A single gunshot and Matthew stumbles, blood seeping through his shirt. Matthew Calloway, choking out a laugh. "You'll never find them all." He collapses. Then, Donovan notices something, an old trapdoor in the corner of the room. The detectives pry open the trapdoor. A ladder leads down into the darkness. And beneath the cabin was the real nightmare. They descend into a hidden basement. A sickening sight unfolds: rusted chains, decomposed remains. And on the far wall, a row of Polaroids, more recent than expected. One photo, taken just months ago. A young woman. She was still alive when Matthew returned. Rachel wasn't his last victim. Matthew had been hunting all this time. A wave of nausea hits Donovan. The case wasn't just old, it was ongoing. And they were too late. Months later, the town of Emerson tries to move on, but something lingers. Owen Calloway was convicted. Matthew Calloway was dead. But the scars of their crimes would never fade. Authorities continue searching for more victims, as police now believe the Calloway brothers may have been responsible for over a dozen disappearances. Detective Donovan stands at Rachel McCarthy's grave, lost in thought. And as for the missing, some may never be found, because in Emerson, some secrets refuse to stay buried. What do you think? Could there be more victims we don't know about? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more chilling true crime stories.